Hi dear students, you are welcome in this video. Dear students, as you know that we have started a series called #setnet, and in this series we are discussing the previous year question papers, and next I have picked this question paper from November 2017 examination, and here we will solve 25 questions. So be ready and check your answers. Very first you have to do write down very first, that is question number 1 in this way, and then you have to write down the answer like this. This is the question number 1, and before that question number, whatever your answer, for example 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, whatever, and at the end of all the questions you have to calculate your score. Okay, so we will start and we will understand how the questions were asked in the previous year examination. So here we have very first question. You can see that I will read the question and immediately I will answer, and then you have to check your answer, and at the end you can calculate your score. Each question is for 2 marks. There are 25 questions meant for 50 marks, and you can check that. So here very first question: in Francis Burney's novel Evelina, the eponymous heroine comes out in society in 2 locations. They are, we have to recognize the locations: A, Bath; B, Bristol; C, Leeds; D, London. And the correct combination: number 1 A and B, number 2 B and C, number 3 A and D, and number 4 B and D. So what is the location? Number 4 B and D means it's Bristol and London. Next question number 2: which of the following lines by Shakespeare is repeated several times in Virginia Woolf's novel Mrs. Dalloway? And the options are: number 1, if music be the food of love, play on; number 2, fear no more the heat of the sun, nor the furious winter's rages; number 3, those are pearls that were his eyes; number 4, there is a tide in the affairs of man. And the correct option here is number 2. This is fear no more heat of the sun, nor the furious winter's rages. Question number 3: identify the important theatres of the Elizabethan period. A, Peacock; B, Globe; C, Swan; and D, Grand. And combination is: number 1 A and B, number 2 B and C, number 3 B and D, and number 4 A and D. So recognize the Elizabethan theatres which were very famous or important, and the correct option is number 2 B and C. Here is the Globe and the Swan Theatre, and there is another theatre called Blackfriars Theatre. The Globe Theatre and Blackfriars Theatre was owned by William Shakespeare later in his life. So these 3 are very important theatres in Elizabethan period. Number 4: in which poem does Matthew Arnold express the dilemma of wandering between 2 worlds, one dead, the other powerless to be born? And the options are: number 1 Self-Dependence; number 2 Stanzas from the Grand Chartreuse; number 3 To a Republican Friend; and number 4 Dover Beach. And the correct option is number 2 Stanzas from Grand Chartreuse. So this is the correct option. Number 5: who made the comment that all modern American literature comes from one book by Mark Twain called Huckleberry Finn? Whose was this remark? You have to recognize: number 1 Henry James; number 2 William Faulkner; number 3 Jack London; and number 4 Ernest Hemingway. And the correct option is number 4 Ernest Hemingway. Number 6: the emblem is a poetic genre containing a symbolic picture with a text and a verse exposition, popular in early 17th century. Who popularized this kind of poetry through the work of emblems? 1635. And the options are: number 1 Robert Southwell; number 2 Francis Quarles; number 3 John Davies; and number 4 Joseph Sylvester. And the correct option is number 2 Francis Quarles. Question number 7: which Byron work begins thus: I want a hero, an uncommon want, when every year and month sends forth a new one? And options are: number 1 Beppo; number 2 Cain; number 3 Manfred; number 4 Don John. And the correct option is number 4 Don John. Question number 8: the title of Sir Thomas Browne's famous treatise Religio Medici means: number 1 religion of a doctor; number 2 religion of a magician; number 3 religion of divinity; and number 4 religion of meditation. And the correct option is, it's very simple question. Number 1, religion of a doctor, means religio medici. Question number 9, which among the following recent novels is a retelling of Sophocles' Antigone? Number 1, Camilla Shamshi's Home Fire. Number 2, Fiona Mosley, Elmet. Number 3, Zadie Smith, Swing Time. And number 4, Mohsin Hamid, Exit West. And the correct option is number 1, Camilla Shamshi's Home Fire. Question number 10, identify the 2 important works of Paul de Man from the following list. A, Blindness and Insight. B, Allegories of Reading. C, Theoretical Essays. Number D, Criticism and Ideology. And the correct combination is number 1, A and B. Number 2, A and C. Number 3, B and C. And number 4, B and D. And the correct option is number 1, A and B. These 2, Blindness and Insight and Allegories of Reading, are famous works of Paul de Man. Question number 11, Samuel Johnson denounced the metaphysical poets, saying, about the beginning of the 17th century appeared a race of writers that may be termed the metaphysical poets. In the biography of which of the following poets in his Lives of the Poets did Johnson make this remark? 1, John Dryden. 2, Thomas Parnell. 3, Abraham Cowley. And number 4, Alexander Pope. So you have to consider here this statement made by Samuel Johnson in his famous Lives of Poets, and in which biography or in which life did Johnson made this statement. And the correct option is number 3, Abraham Cowley. Question number 12, the terms of the contract are not disagreeable to me. The above sentence contains an example. Number 1, enumeratio. Number 2, litotes. Number 3, anaphora. Number 4, metonymy. So here you can see that the terms of the contract are not disagreeable to me. So this statement is an example of, and the correct option is number 2, litotes. Because here you find that we have a contrast or understatement, are not disagreeable. So here are not and also disagreeable is combined in one sentence. So it is the example of litotes. It is an understatement. Question number 13, who is the author of the following lines? To see a world in a grain of sand and a heaven in a wild flower. Hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour. Options are 1, Thomas Gray. 2, William Blake. 3, William Collins. And 4, William Cowper. And the correct option is number 2, William Blake. 14, in Women in Love, what is Winfred's Pekingese dog called? What is the name of Winfred's dog in Women in Love? Number 1, Bismarck. Number 2, Lulu. Number 3, Lucky. Number Buddy. And the correct option is number 2, Lulu. Question number 15, which of the following new critics put forward the idea of the heresy of paraphrase? Number 1, Alan Tate. Number 2, Cleant Brooks. Number 3, W.K. Wimsatt. Number 4, Monroe C. Beardsley. And the correct option is number 2, Cleant Brooks put the term called heresy of paraphrase. Number 16, Edmund Spenser's Colin Cloud's Come Home Again is a fine example of number 1, Carpe Diem. Number 2, Sonnet Sequence. Number 3, Georgic Poetry. Number 4, Pastoral Eclogue. And the correct option is number 4, it's a Pastoral Eclogue. Question number 17, in an essay of dramatic poesy, whom does John Dryden refer to as the most learned and judicious writer which any theatre ever had? And options are John Webster. 2, Christopher Marlowe. 3, Ben Jonson. And number 4, William Shakespeare. And the correct option is number 3, Ben Jonson. These remarks are regarding Ben Jonson. Question number 18, this Australian poet was raised in New South Wales and grew up in rural Australian landscape. In 1946, she published her first book of poems. In 1962, she became co-founder and president of the Wildlife Preservation Society of Queensland and served as its president several times. Identify the poet. Number 1, Dorothy Hewitt. Number 2, Nettie Palmer. Number 3, Judith Wright. And number 4, Amy Whiting. And the correct option is number 3, Judith Wright. Question number 19, Afra Bain's Orinoco is set in dash. Number 1, Suriname. Number 2, Abyssinia. Number 3, Egypt. And number 4, Assyria. And the correct option is number 1, Suriname. Question number 20. Who published the first collected edition of Gerard Manley Hopkins' poems in 1918? Options are 1, Robert Bridges. Number 2, Coventry Patmore. Number 3, John Benjamin. And number 4, Stephen Spender. And the correct option is number 1, Robert Bridges published the collection of Gerard Manley Hopkins' poems. Question number 21. Samuel Richardson named his heroine Pamela after one of the characters in dash. Number 1, Edmund Spenser's Fairy Queen. Number 2, William Shakespeare's Venus and Adonis. Number 3, Philip Sidney's Arcadia. And number 4, Geoffrey Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. And the correct option is number 3, Philip Sidney's Arcadia. Question number 22. Pinter once admitted that he first became aware of the dramatic power of the pause from seeing a popular American comedian. Which one? Number 1, Bob Hope. Number 2, W.C. Fields. Number 3, Jack Benny. And number 4, Charlie Chaplin. And the correct option is number 3, Jack Benny. Question number 23. Charles Dickens' Bleak House is pointedly critical of England's number 1, Privy Council. Number 2, Court of Appeal. Number 3, Court of Chancery. And number 4, Military Courts. And the correct option is number 3, Court of Chancery. Question number 24. Which of the following is not true? The ideal state in Thomas More's Utopia. Number 1, personal property, money and voice are effectively abolished. Number 2, the root cause of crime, ambition and political conflict are eliminated. Number 3, there is only one religion guided by the principle of a benevolent supreme being. Number 4, its priesthood, which includes some women, is limited in number. And the correct option is number 3, there is only one religion guided by the principle of a benevolent supreme being. And the last question of this series is, which character created by Coleridge makes the following account of her harrowing experience? So here are lines. 5 warriors seized me, Estremon, me, even me, a maid forlorn. They choked my cries with force and fright and tied me on a palfrey white. And the options are number 1, Geraldine, Christabel. Number 3, Christabel's mother. And number 4, the maid who appeared in Christabel's dream. And the correct option is number 1, Geraldine. Now dear friends, I hope you have solved all the questions. Right now you can calculate your score and comment your score below in the comment section. Let's meet in the next video. Thank you very much.